Hello everyone, welcome back to Tomato Blues. This is me Anusha Rajagopal and I'm back with a very traditional South Indian style mixture which is very appropriate for this Deepavali season. But before we begin on the recipe, let me wish you all a very happy Deepavali. I hope you all celebrate this Deepavali in a very safe way and yet at the same time have a lot of fun with your friends and family. So come on, let's begin making this crunchy, super addictive Deepavali mixture, or rather, should I say, South Indian style uh, traditional mixture. So in this video, we will be seeing three different recipes. The first recipe would be to make plain save, and then we will also be seeing how to make bundi, or rather kara bundi or spicy bundi. I am also going to be sharing tips to make the perfect round bundi like you all can see in the video. I hope you can hear the crunch as I mix the mixture. So like I said, this particular video is going to be about three recipes. One, the plain save, two, the kara bundi, and three, finally, the traditional South Indian style mixture. So come on, let's get started. Our first recipe, like I said, is going to be plain save. We are going to learn how to make plain save today. All the recipes mentioned in this video or shown in this video are very basic, beginner friendly. If you follow my instructions to the T, it does not require any kind of complex methods or directions. It's very straightforward. So to begin with, for this plain save, I'm going to be adding 1.5 cups of besan, that is kadla mavu or gram flour or chickpea flour, and 3/4 of a cup rice flour. I have sieved both besan and rice flour beforehand because I was in the Deepavali Bhakshanam making spree. So I strongly suggest that you all sieve your flour beforehand before you start making your goodies. It really saves a lot of time and sieving is very, very important. So once you've added the besan and rice flour, let us go in and add 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder. This not only gives flavor but also color. And now let's add quarter teaspoon asafoetida, which is perengayam or hing in Hindi, perengayam in Tamil of course. Now let us add 1 teaspoon red chili powder. Once we've added the red chili powder, I'm going to be adding the salt that is required for this particular recipe. I'm going to add only 1 teaspoon of salt. Remember friends, we are going to use the save in our mixture recipe, which will also have more salt added at the end, which is why I am adding a little lesser salt than is required for this quantity of dough. So once we've added all the dry ingredients to our bowl, I'm going to use my hands and I'm going to roughly mix them all. And now I'm going to begin with a little bit of water and I'm going to make a dough. So let's say for this particular recipe or for this particular amount of ingredients mentioned here, I began with half a cup of water, room temperature tap water basically, and I'm going to make it into a crack-free, supple and soft dough. You may require up to 1 cup of water for the amount of besan and rice flour that is mentioned over here. But please do not add all the water at one go. There is a very good chance that your flour or your dough may become too liquid and you may not be able to shape out your save at all. So we are looking at a crack-free, soft and supple dough. Maybe something similar to that of a chapati dough, but even looser than chapati dough. So you can all see that the dough is coming together beautifully, and this is how it looks like all gluten-free flours when made into a dough. This is slightly sticky. It will not be like chapati dough, completely smooth and non-sticky. So this is how our dough looks. Now I'm going to use my save plate and I've also taken out my murukku press. So this murukku press, no, it's got a nice story to it. This is basically my husband's grandmother's murukku press, which was passed on to me. No, do not think it is rusted. It is not rusted. The color itself is like that, and it has been in our family for like what now, 60 to 70 years. So this particular murukku press is very close to my heart, and I have this tradition, or rather the habit of beginning all my Deepavali goodies with one dish made from this particular murukku press. So you can see that I have, greased the murukku press and the save plate well. So I'm going to make a log out of this dough and I'm going to add the cylindrical shaped log shaped dough into the murukku press. Now this is how it looks once I have filled the murukku press. So let's now try to, pipe out or press out the save and do a test. You can see that the save dough is falling freely. In case you find it difficult to pipe out the save or that it is not falling freely, it means your dough is too tight. So begin adding 1 tablespoon of water, mix it again into the dough and then try piping it again. So now I have already heated 400 ml of oil. So I'm adding a small ball of dough into the oil to see if the oil is of the right temperature. If the ball of dough comes floating up immediately, that means it is the right temperature to begin frying our save. Now you can see that the oil is heated up to the correct temperature. Now let us begin piping our save into the oil. Make sure that you do not pipe it in overlapping fashion and that the strands are separate as much as possible. This whole batch of dough takes about 30 minutes to be fried from the start to scratch. You will easily get 2.5 cups of plain save with the amount of flour and water that I have mentioned. Once you have piped your save into the oil, turn down the flame to the lowest possible and continue to fry the save until there is no sizzling shh sound you can hear from the oil. Generally, the oil makes that sizzling sound when something is frying up and it's very bubbly on the surface. So you will know that the save or whatever murukku you're frying is done frying when the sizzling and the bubbles disappear. So let me quickly show you the second round that I fried. And this is how it looks after our save is completely fried. Like you can see, I have easily got about 2.5 cups to 3 cups of save with the quantity mentioned over here. Now let's get on to making our next recipe, which is bundi. Now the bundi recipe that I'm going to be sharing today is going to be used both for the kara bundi and for the mixture. I'm going to be using a bundi jali and a ladle to shape my bundis today. Again, it's the same proportion, 1.5 cups of besan or kadla maavu or gram flour or chickpea flour and 3/4 of a cup rice flour. Now, along with this, we will be adding our usual flavoring agents and then we'll be adding one more ingredient to get that perfectly round shaped bundi balls. Now, once we've added our flours into the bowl, let us add 1 teaspoon of turmeric powder, 1.5 teaspoons of red chili powder. We like our bundi a little spicy, which is why I'm adding 1.5 teaspoons of red chili powder, 1/4 teaspoon of asafoetida. Now this asafoetida helps in better digestion, so do not skip this. Once we have added all this, I'm going to be adding the salt required for this recipe. Like I said, I'm going to be adding 1.25 teaspoons of salt, which is slightly lesser than the usual amount of salt added for this quantity. Now I'm going to be adding 1/8 of a teaspoon soda or baking soda or soda bicarb. Now this baking soda is what is going to help us to get those beautifully round shaped bundis. So once we've added all of these dry ingredients, let us combine it roughly with our hands and go in and start making our bundi batter. Now, like I said, begin with 1/2 cup of water and gradually keep adding water until you make a batter that is resemblant to of bhaji batter. The consistency of your batter must be slightly thinner than dosa batter and slightly thicker than bhaji batter. I generally tend to have a thick batter for the bhaji. So let me show you all what is the consistency as and when we mix the batter. If you can see, I'm using only my hands, and because I have sieved my gram flour and rice flour well, there are no lumps. So it's very important to remember to sieve your flour before you begin making any goodies for Deepavali or for any special festive occasion. So let us say I have used about 1.25 cups to 1.5 cups of water to get this particular consistency. But please make sure that you do not add all the water at one go. Add it little by little, maybe tablespoon by tablespoon if you are a beginner. It takes a little bit of time. It's certainly worth the effort though. So please exercise caution when you're adding water to your bundi batter. Now let us do a test. Let us see if our bundis fall correctly when rubbed. I'm going to add a ladle of batter onto the bundi jali and I'm going to press it. You can see that the bundi is falling well, but it's not falling so freely either. Okay, so let me answer two questions that are very frequently asked. A, why does my bundi have tails? B, why is my bundi falling flat? If your bundi has tails when you rub the batter onto the ladle over oil, it means your batter is too thick. So I suggest that you begin adding 1 tablespoon of water to the batter and test again. If it still has tails, add 1 more tablespoon of water and continue. Now, if your bundi is falling flat, that means your batter is too thin. So I suggest that you add 1 tablespoon of sieved gram flour and adjust the consistency. Test again. If you find it still is falling flat, add more gram flour, but by the tablespoon. Let's talk more about the consistency as and when we begin frying the bundi. I tend to use the same oil in which I made my save. So I'm going to take a ladle of the batter and like you can see, I put it on the bundi jali and I'm rubbing it like this slowly and gently. Again, my flame is on the lowest possible. So while the bundi is getting fried, let me tell you more about the consistency. If you add more soda than what I have mentioned over here, then your bundi will have small holes in them and it will not look nice. So please do not add more than 1/8 of a teaspoon soda like I have mentioned over here. Also, if you're adjusting your thick batter for bundi, please do not add more than 1 tablespoon at a time. And every time you add 1 tablespoon of water, make sure that you test it by frying a batch and then continue to add another tablespoon of water only if necessary. Similarly, the same rule applies for adjusting thin batter. If you're adding 1 tablespoon of gram flour at a time, mix well, test once and then continue to adjust the consistency. This way you will not land up with too many flat or tailed bundis and you'll also learn the correct consistency that is appropriate for your flour. Now, while frying bundi, it's always important to remember to keep the flame at the lowest possible. Now our bundi is done. Let us get on to frying our additional accompaniments or rather, the crunch giving factors for our South Indian style mixture. I have added 6 tablespoons of peanuts to the same oil and I'm going to fry them till they are crunchy. There are people who do this on a pan by roasting it. You can also do that. But I indulge in oily food once in a while, so I tend to go to town when I do this. Once the peanuts are done, drain them on a kitchen towel. And whenever you're making this bundi or mixture, please drain the oil completely to avoid that rancid smell after a few days. Maybe 3-4 days down the line, you'll get that rancid smell. Now, once the peanuts are fried, I have added about 6 tablespoons of pottu kadalai or fried gram dal and I'm again going to fry them till they turn a light golden brown. Once done, let me drain them and now I'm adding 3/4 of a cup rice flakes or poha or aval. I strongly suggest that you use the thick flakes, not the lace aval but the getty aval for making this traditional mixture. Now in goes 12 curry leaves and let's give it a good mix and make sure that the curry leaves wilt in the oil. This curry leaf gives an excellent flavor to your mixture, so do not skip it. You can also add a few cloves of crushed garlic in this step if you want. Now the next thing that I've added is 3 tablespoons of broken cashews and I'm going to fry them till a light golden brown and drain all of these together. Now first let us make our kara bundi. Making kara bundi is pretty straightforward. Like I said, you can always add a few cloves of crushed garlic fried in the oil for more flavor. But because I was making it for Deepavali, I did not add garlic. So let us add about 1.5 cups of kara bundi to a bowl and let us add the fried cashews. And now I'm going to add a few fried curry leaves and I'm just going to give them a good mix. And voila, our kara bundi is ready to be served. You can use this as a topping on Tair Vadai, that is curd vada, or on top of Bisibele Bath, or just enjoy it as a tea time snack. This particular kara bundi keeps well for about a week, provided you make sure that you have drained the oil completely while frying. If you do not drain the oil, there's a very good chance that you will get that rancid smell from the oil. So please make sure that you drain it completely in a kitchen towel. Now this is how our kara bundi looks, and you can also see the gorgeous texture, and you can hear that crunch of the kara bundi. So once this is done, let's get on to making our South Indian style traditional mixture. Now there's really nothing much. It's all, it's mixture basically. Put everything in a bowl and mix it. So I'm going to add all the save into this, and then I'm going to go in and I'm going to add bundi. So like I was saying, this quantity of flour mentioned over here and everything else mentioned over here will yield you approximately 800 to 900 grams of mixture. So another very forgiving thing about mixture is that you can easily double or triple the recipe. So you can always add, 3 cups of besan and 1.5 cups of flour, rice flour to make this. So let's add all the fried aval, peanuts and the fried gram dal along with the curry leaves. Once we have added all the fried ingredients to our bowl, let us go in and take up the spice level to another notch. So let's add 1 teaspoon of red chili powder, some turmeric powder, that is 3/4 of a teaspoon turmeric powder for the color, and let us also add 1 teaspoon of salt because our fried gram, peanuts and the poha does not have salt. And now the final revelation moment, or the mixture revelation moment, lies in this step. If you do this, your mixture will taste exactly like those that you get in bakeries and sweet shops. Let us go in and let us add 1 teaspoon of white sugar. And once we've added all this, we are going to give it a nice mix. And I generally tend to distribute or serve my mixture after letting it sit for 1 day, because by the end of that 1 day the flavors would have come together so beautifully well that the mixture tastes absolutely awesome and out of the world the next day. So friends, please try this. Add the sugar and let the mixture sit for 1 day for it to absorb all the flavors. Now that we have done this, let us give it a good mix or a good shake. You can also close the mixing bowl when you do this to avoid spilling or splattering. And that's it, my dear friends. A wonderfully crunchy, super addictive South Indian style mixture, or should I say mixture, is ready. So let me know if you've tried this recipe. Take a picture and share it with us on Instagram and tag us at Tomato Blues. Also, do not forget to hit the subscribe button, leave a like and leave a comment if you like this video. And do not forget to store your mixture in a clean, airtight glass jar or a stainless steel container. It'll retain the freshness for long. And stay tuned for more such recipes. I do hope I can get back to, uploading videos on a regular basis. So see y'all soon. Happy Diwali once again. Stay tuned for more recipes on Tomato Blues. Bye bye.